this recording, welcome to, I'll just go back to the slide. Welcome to the Engaged Online Newsroom. I'm Nancy Kaplan-Beagle, and this is what we're doing right now. So as people come in, they can start to respond to these things. And we've got several of you who've already responded to the poll. So far, one person is going to be fully asynchronous with their newspaper staff. So that's good to know. And we've got 8 out of 13 of you having responded. So we'll see what other answers we get. And in the chat, yeah, Rachel, really, we want to rebuild that community, and that's definitely the focus of this. Yeah. Nervous about the upcoming semester. What?
I said, welcome, Kathleen. Says it's her first semester full time.
Yay, welcome.
And welcome back, Patricia.
Yes, Patricia. That's great. Okay.
I am this morning my breakfast.
Hey, Judy.
Hey.
Yeah, great. So, yeah, I think Patricia's kind of summing this up, right? The emotions range from excitement to despair. I think that probably is, speaks for all of us. So if there are 2 more of you that need to jump in the poll, we're going to close that soon, and basically just asking you, with your newspaper staff class, is it going to be fully asynchronous? It'll be on Zoom or whatever, and you'll be not ever in real time communicating with people. Is it going to be a combination, or is it going to be, are you going to have every single meeting synchronously? I think I'm one of the people who I haven't replied to this yet, and I can't, so I think I might be one of the holdups here. So, okay, why don't we end the polling, and if you could share the results, that would be great.
Okay.
Most of us are doing some sort of combination, and this is going to be really different for us. So we're going to get into that in a little bit more, but I just wanted to get a sense of what's going to happen for you guys, because it's really different if you're fully asynchronous versus if you have some time. Okay, so I'm going to move the poll out of my way. All right. So I want to give you guys some caveats. First is that we're doing the meeting version of Zoom, and we're doing it for all 4 workshops, and that's deliberate. We could have gone with the webinar, but this way it allows us to see each other's faces, and that's what we're going to be doing in our classrooms on Zoom. And so I wanted us to have that same experience where we can see each other's faces and hear each other, although that's my second caveat. For most of this workshop, I'm actually not going to invite you to unmute yourself, simply because I've got a lot of stuff to cover. And so we're going to be using the chat for ongoing engagement. So, and I'll explain this later, but you can feel free to keep chatting away in there, and I'm not going to shut that down at all. In fact, I welcome it, okay? Third caveat is that for some of you, this may feel a little bit like technology overwhelm, probably a feeling you've gotten used to since March. And I would say to you, these are just a taste of, and you can do a deeper dive on any of these on a smaller level for yourself. And the second element of that is that I would never attempt to use so many different technology tools for engagement as I'm going to today in an actual classroom. I'm trying to share with you guys a lot of stuff, but don't do that in 55 minutes or even in an hour and a half. And I'm sure you guys wouldn't want to anyway. And then finally, I'm not an expert, right? Just like you guys, my newsroom shut down in March, and this is just kind of a display of the things that I've tried so far and the things that I'm thinking about and what I'm going to be trying in the fall. Okay, and this is what we're going to do. We're going to have a little bit of a moment to mourn our physical newsrooms. So we'll be doing that. And then we're going to kind of reflect on what our newsrooms have kind of held for us. They've held different things. And then the majority of this is going to be on strategizing how we recreate some of that in this new virtual reality. Got to have some learning outcomes. So the learning outcomes is that by the time you leave this workshop, you'll have kind of a list in your mind of some of the considerations that you need to be thinking about. I know you're already thinking about those things and hopefully some possible solutions to some of those considerations. I'm also hoping that you get at least 4 tools or strategies that you will feel excited about implementing in the fall. So we'll, I'm going to introduce you to a lot of things. Hopefully some of those will resonate for you. And then we're going to be modeling hands-on engagement aside from unmuting you guys, which again, in a normal classroom, I definitely would have that level and that type of engagement, but we're going to be doing engagement through other, methods right now. And then the 4th learning outcome is I hope that when we leave, we'll have a group brainstorm that we've collaborated on. Okay, so let's have a little bit of, time to mourn our newsrooms. And you can put, Marianne, for me, the first link. What we're going to do is we're going to go put up tombstones in our graveyard. Okay, so we're going to get a little bit elegiac, if that's how you say the word, and we're going to use a Padlet, which will be now our 3rd tool, right? We've done a poll in Zoom, we've done a chat in Zoom, and now we're going to try a Padlet. And how many of you, just give a thumbs up if you know how to use the emoticons or whatever. Just give me a thumbs up if you've used Padlet before. I know Marianne has. She's a big proponent of Padlet. Okay, I'm going to go and share the Padlet screen now. And whoops. Okay, and if you go, so do you have the link in the chat, Marianne? What you guys can do is you guys can go ahead and copy that link and then open up another tab for yourself. Don't worry about, stepping away from here for a minute. Go to another tab, copy that link into there, and then in the bottom of this, you'll see this plus here. You can click on that and you can put your own here lies. What are you going to miss about our physical newsrooms? And what are you going to, what are your students going to miss about them? We'll just give, I got us started. I'm going to miss, pizza night for production. Okay. So you can put here lies, and then if you can see, that's your title, and then underneath it, yeah, there you go, easy access to. And by the way, you guys, with this, if you see something here that you love, that really resonates for you, you can click on and give it a heart, and you can also say, you can also comment on it. So this is some engagement that you can bring into your own classroom space with your students. And this can be done synchronously or asynchronously. Okay, so we've got easy access to technology, seeing your editors for sure. The newsroom candy. Yeah, conversations, those spontaneous conversations for sure. Yeah. The Keurig. Oh my God, you guys did a Keurig? I want to go to your newsroom. The newsroom phone. Do you guys still use the newsroom phone? Judy doesn't. I can see some of you. Okay, so we've got, yeah, the mentoring face-to-face, right. Food, fun, lots of chatting. Conversations with flustered students who we then can help unfluster, right? We're mourning a lot, and they will be too, right? So let's see what else you guys are saying. And one of the things I want you to notice as we're putting this up is that immediately when we jumped on this Zoom call or this Zoom meeting, we all have probably experienced on Zoom. The students come on, unlike us, they've got their self unmuted. Maybe they have, for sure, a lot of them probably have their cameras off. And what this does is immediately start to get them engaged so that they're not just, a blank square on your screen. Okay, why don't we get a few more? Copy editing the final version of stories. And let's see if we can get a couple more in here. Easy access to physical tools like pica poles and paper page dummies. Wait, I think we need another graveyard for some of that stuff. Okay, so you can continue with this if you'd like, but I'm gonna go back to the PowerPoint. And one of the things that I am really gonna be okay with is that you have now the chat where you guys can kind of communicate with each other. And if you wanna stay on this Padlet, you can do that. And I'm not gonna worry about how many different ways you're engaging with what we're doing today. Okay, so you guys can see my PowerPoint again. And one of the things as I was thinking about this is I was thinking that those spaces hold some things for us, right? They hold the tangible. And you guys kind of mentioned that a little bit in terms of like access to physical things, access to, and I'm not talking about the carrot guys on this one. I'm talking about like the pica poles, okay? Access, it's probably where you do training of your staff and where your editors do training, where you've built in processes and your editors have built in processes that are probably visible around the room. It's the place where you guys are doing the reporting, or the students are doing the reporting and editing in collaboration that way. And for sure, it's been the place where we've done our physical print papers, layout, and production, right? So we have all this tangible stuff that happens in these newsrooms that we've lost. And this workshop is not going to be primarily about that. But I want, Marianne, there's another link you can put in there that's for Google Docs. Later, you can go into that link that she's going to put in now. And if you want to add any of the ways that you are dealing with the loss of a space for these things, that would be a collective resource for us. And what I want to say about the tangible here before we move on to the main part is that anything that you repeat, you should be moving to Canvas. So if you do lectures on, you know, how to use InDesign and you give that lecture every semester, go ahead and make a video and put it on Canvas. You may not have wanted to do that flipped style of class before, but now we're all in it, right? So take those things, move them onto Canvas, and then we can start dealing with this next part, which is really the intangible thing about our newsroom, where the magic happens, right? It's that sense of space, that bonding and community with others in the room, that collaboration that we do. So that is really the part that I've been thinking about, because when we left in March, you know, our students were already bonded for at least half the semester. And for some of them, they were bonded since, you know, since the fall. But in this coming fall, we may have a lot of students who feel no connection to the other students. Give me a thumbs up if you anticipate that you're going to have a lot of new students in the fall who do not know each other. Yeah. Now, some of you are on quarter systems and you've already been grappling with this. So you're probably a really good resource for us with this. All right. So when we're talking about sense of space, we are going to have asynchronous places of space, right? Our Canvas shell is going to be an asynchronous sense of place for the students. Our CMSs, our content management systems like Kamiak or our school newspapers, online's Flow, those are going to be other places where the students work asynchronously together. Google Docs, of course, they can collaborate there, but it also may be another space where they work asynchronously with each other. And you may have Facebook groups that you've established for your students to have some sort of sense of space that they have ownership over. And then you also may be using back channels like Slack or group. Your students may have created group texts and be using that to create some sort of there, right? So we know that there are asynchronous spaces, and we'll come back to those. But what I really wanted to focus on initially is this synchronous space. So how do we take, ooh, I think I have a typo. Do I in there? I'm not sure, but at any rate, how do we take our synchronous Zoom experience and make it feel just a little bit more like our newsrooms, instead of coming into something and actually having somebody lecture at you, kind of like I'm doing right now. So here are some of my suggestions, and By the end of this, you should be able to give some of your own suggestions. So just know that. But if you want to also pop them in the chat, no problem. Go ahead and put them in there too. So one of the things that I have tried out and I'm going to do again is I'm going to start my Zoom meetings with the students like 15 minutes early. I'm going to give them the option that they can come in there before we start with the formal part of the class or meeting, and just let them come in, be quiet, talk to each other, much like they would do in our own classroom space. And then I'm going to let them continue without me. Now, this happened a lot in the spring. They really wanted to connect with each other. And I mean, they would want to keep going, you know, it'd be like an hour and 45 minutes and they were still going. They just really wanted to connect with each other. So I would say to them, I'm turning off my camera, I'm turning off my microphone, and I'm actually going to go into 2 rooms down. I'm going to go eat. You're going to have to scream really loud when you guys want to end the Zoom meeting, and then I'll come back and turn everything off. And sometimes I didn't hear them, and I'd come back and the Zoom space would be still going, and nobody would be in there at that point. But I say, let them keep going without you. You can get in there and assign even a student as an alternate host. I tried this out with my own students, and I was able to start the meeting, assign a host, and leave the meeting, completely leave the meeting. So I think it's going to be really important for our students to have some sense of autonomy and space like they did in our newsrooms. And again, don't fear the back channel. When you are doing something like this, let them chat, let them even, you know, message each other, you know, through the channel, the chat. So it doesn't all have to be out to the whole group. I think this is going to be something that's going to help them develop relationships with each other. Okay, and then finally, you probably have used your breakout rooms for discussions and things like that, and that's another way we can kind of create that sense of space and space within a space. I'm going to come back to this one in a minute. We're going to do something with it in a second. Okay, so here's some other suggestions that I've been thinking about. I've watched other groups on campus, like our Cypher program, create homework like hours where students can log on and they can do their homework together and just be on screen together and share the space. I'm going to try to do this. I figure the amount of time that I'm in the newsroom anyway, you know, this is kind of going to be comparable. So I'll have to go on and create a meeting space, but I'm going to create spaces for them to join each other online and just very casually. I got this idea from somebody else. I think that they should, we should ask them what their favorite songs are and help, if you don't have a Spotify account, your students do, and they'll know how to do collaborative playlists, but help your editors really get a collaborative playlist. And then, you know what, when you're having that homework space or that production space, like if they're doing, if they're still doing layout for PDFs, you could open up the space, have them working there, kind of silently, but have the Spotify playlist going. And then I would encourage them to use other spaces as well. They can do some of those like live streaming through Netflix or group games. Some of it can be in Zoom, but some of it you won't want to be near necessarily, but encourage them to connect with each other outside of this space. And then this is crazy talk, okay? I'm just telling you guys. If this keeps going on, if we are in quarantine or lockdown or away from our news spaces in the spring, I'm going to start looking at VR possibilities. I have no idea if this will fall flat for me, if it'll be too tech heavy for me, but a lot of educators are using Minecraft. Mozilla has something called Hubs. I went on it hoping that it would be easy, and it's really advanced. And some of you may remember Second Life. And these virtual worlds, you know, if we're in this for this super long haul, I'm going to start thinking about this stuff. Now, I'm going to ask for 4 volunteers, and maybe Marianne, if you could create 2 breakout rooms for me. And then I'm going to ask for 4 volunteers. So we're going to have two pairs. in each of the breakout rooms. And one of the things that I want to show you that I did as a strategy this semester is I used, and this is here is our next tool. I used something called Socrative.com, and I suspect a lot of you guys have heard of this before. Give me a thumbs up if you guys have heard of this one before, or you can put it in the chat. Anyone hear of Socrative? Okay, that's all right. Okay, so you have, Jessica. All right. So do we have
Nancy, I don't have the breakout rooms on my screen.
Oh, so
I turned it on, but I don't know if it would have just turned on in this meeting, or I would have had to restart the meeting, and I certainly don't want to do
I
that.
see. Okay, so actually that's no problem. What
I'm sorry.
if you have a device by you, and probably most of you do, or you can even do this in a separate tab if you want. I'm going to ask you guys, we can do this together and we won't spend a lot of time on this. What you can do is go to Socrative.com and let me give you a moment to direct yourself to there. And then, and Marianne, if you want to drop that into the chat, that would be great, just in case you would rather copy and paste that instead of type it out.
Sure.
And so if you go into Socrative.com, students don't have to sign up for an account for this at all. You just go into log in and you do the student version, and then you plug in my room number, which is 566-576. And you can go into the question that I've asked, and you can even just type gibberish. I don't care right now. You can just literally type anything you want. I'm going to share that screen and show you what I'm going to see on my end. So hold on just a second here. Whoops. You guys be doing that as I'm fussing with my technology here for a minute, okay? Okay, are you guys having any problem getting into there, or are you good? And for this part, you can verbally unmute yourself if you want to tell me if you're doing well, or Marianne, just tell me if they're having any issues with.
I think now I clicked on it. It says I have to sign up first. Is there a way?
No,
to
you don't have to sign up. There should be.
Okay.
I'll show you guys what this space will look like. Okay.
Okay.
If you go to, I'll share my screen again with you guys in a second. I'll do it through another browser. Because you're doing it as the student, not as the teacher version.
Okay.
Nancy, I think you gave the room number a little bit fast for some people.
Sure, it is.
It's in the chat.
It's in the chat, but
with the link.
yeah, it's 566-576. And let me go ahead and screen share again, and I'll tell you why we're doing this. Okay, so do you guys see Socrative in front of you now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So over in this corner right here where it says login, you go to student login, and then you plug in 566-576. It's being a little slow, but it should have, yeah, so. Okay, so this is what the student is going to see. And then you enter your name, I'll just say Nancy. And you can set it up so they don't answer yet. And I'm going to write in here, I have no idea. Okay. So, and I'm going to, I didn't give more than one question, but I'm going to just click that I'm done. Okay. So how I've used this with breakout rooms is we're doing this all as one giant room where you guys, and it's going to keep spinning out until the teacher ends the event. So just know that. So I'm going to go back over here and show you what I see. So this is what I see, and I can go ahead and show answers too. Now, I'm always careful not to put show names just in case I share my screen, whether I'm in the physical classroom or online with the students, because I don't want to embarrass any group. So I go ahead and do this. Now, if you guys were in breakout rooms, I would have had one note taker, and I would have said, you know, either give me all of your names or give me your initials, or if they were in teams, you know, they could have a team name, whatever it was, or they could just simply put breakout room number 1, whatever it is. But what I want you to see is that this allows me to see what they're doing. And one of the problems that I've had with the Zoom breakout rooms is that if you don't have something like this, if they're working on, say, the whiteboard or something, you don't know what's happening in the rooms until you physically join each room. And when you physically join a breakout room, then you don't know if anybody is trying to enter your class at that moment and is stuck in a waiting room. You don't know if you're going into the group that's really hyped up and doesn't need you in there. And so how I've dealt with that is I can be in the main room monitoring who's coming in and out, and I can be looking at their answers, and I can click on this and then I can really see their answers. So this might be group number 1, great for low stakes quizzes during discussions. I might know, okay, I don't need to go into their room. They are doing this, they're on top of it. The person who says, or the group that says, I have no idea, that's the breakout room I'm gonna go dip into first. So that's some of how I've strategized with this. Okay, I'm going to end this part, and so that you guys don't keep seeing spinning things. So I'm just going to finish it, and that will end it for you guys. And by the way, then this allows you, as you can see, to have reports. So, all right, do you see my PowerPoint again?
Yes.
Okay, great. And Marianne, if there's anything super crucial that I need to stop about in the chat, you'll let me know, but I have other things to share
I
with you.
think we're good. Cecilia and I will address the questions if we can, and if not, then I'm just going to log them and go
Great.
back, have you go back.
Great. Okay, and if we run out of time for my answering those questions, I can answer them later, okay, in some sort of fashion, either through Google Doc or, you know, an addendum video or something like that. Okay, so our sense of space, asynchronous, we are going to have asynchronous spaces that we're going to be utilizing. We have to, right? But I'm wanting to build in interactivity. And I follow a lot of secondary and elementary school teachers because they are so creative. So one of the things is that Google Slides allows you to create a slide that has clickable, you can build in clickability for it. So I also have a Bitmoji. I don't know how many of you guys have a Bitmoji, but if you do, you can do a mashup. So I'm going to show you. Hold on. I think my husband is knocking at the door. All right. So let me share with you guys what this looks like. So don't laugh. There's Disco Me. And actually, if you could drop into the chat the next link, I think it is, Socrative, that'll let you go and kind of experiment with this yourself. But once you do, you'll see that this right here is clickable, and it's not going to send you to any place that you're going to be able to access it, send you back into something in Canvas. But I'm going to create, like a lot of elementary and secondary school teachers are, a digital space. And you know that all of your students, almost all of them, are going to have their own Bitmojis because they're on Snapchat, where they create a Bitmoji for themselves. So my plan is I'm going to try to switch this up. I don't think it'll take that long to have the students give me one of their Bitmojis, and I'll stick them in here too. And then the students, this is what it's going to look like in the Canvas shell. This is actually my sandbox, but you can see this is the landing page for my Canvas, and they can come in here and they'll be able to, this is a static thing, but if this were actually on my Canvas page, you'd be able to click on this. And by the way, using Google Slides this way also allows you to switch up messages in here, so you can have multiple slides that scroll through automatically when they get to your landing page. Okay, so for clickability or interactivity, ThingLink is another good resource for that, and I'm sure some of you will already know about that and be using it, and actually sometimes journalists use this too. So I gamify in my classroom, and actually, Marianne, if you could drop the next link into the chat. And you guys have the option of copying and pasting those links right now, but we'll make all of these available to you too. And again, I don't care if you're off going and clicking around and experimenting with this stuff right now. So this is ThingLink, and when the students are actually at my Google site that I do for my gamification, if they kind of hover their mouse over things, they're going to find that it introduces them to the editor-in-chief, it tells them about their colleagues, etc. And you could choose to create a newsroom like this and, you know, introduce your staff or create links to resources in here or videos that might train them. ThingLink can handle all of that. And then finally, if you really want to do a mashup, you can do Google Slides plus Bitmoji plus Flipgrid. How many of you guys are using Flipgrid right now? Let me see if I can kind of, I've lost my grid of you guys. Can you guys kind of wave at me and tell me if you're using Flipgrid? Like thumbs up, thumbs down? Okay, Flipgrid is something that you, if you're doing any asynchronous teaching this coming semester, you're going to want to learn about Flipgrid because it allows you to create not just verbal, not just written discussion boards like you can through Canvas, but it, by the way, it syncs with Canvas. It's one of those apps that you can add directly to Canvas and use through SpeedGrader. And what it allows you to set up are video discussion forums instead. So you create a topic, and then the students can use either their laptops or their devices, and they can record an answer. They can add, you know, little stickers to it. They can do all sorts of things, and then they can respond to each other's recordings as well. So it's a great way to sort of mix up your discussion forums so that you don't fall into a rut of just every single time having a Canvas discussion forum. But the great thing is that Flipgrid also allows you to create a QR code for any video that you do that then moves into augmented reality. Now, I am positive that some of you are freaking out right now and saying, this is just way, way too much. I promise you it is not yet, okay? So, I mean, you know, just don't get too overwhelmed right now. I'm gonna share it with you and show you what it would look like. Okay, so I'm gonna move you guys out of the way again. So in my classroom, you'll see, in that Google Slides classroom, you'll see the Flipgrid QR code here. And then this is what it looks like for a student who would hold up their device. They would open up their Flipgrid app. And then when they open up their Flipgrid app, it will automatically say, put in a code for a class, just like we did with Socrative, or it'll say right underneath that, scan a Flipgrid QR code. And this is what the experience could look like for a student who comes onto my Canvas page and sees this. So this is where this is their phone, and they either put in their code or they can click on scan Flipgrid QR, and this is what it'll look like. And you're not going to hear any sound for this, by the way, but there is sound. And I'm excited to be a part of this. Okay, so it's that simple. Now, I know that that doesn't feel simple to a lot of you, but there are a lot of training videos around Flipgrid that are really easy. And one of the things that I'm going to do and make available to Marianne are quick and simple training tutorials on YouTube from other people for Flipgrid, for Google Slides and Bitmoji mashups, those kinds of things. So for those of you who have the interest to pursue it, you can. Okay, so let's move on to bonding and community. I think, I'm sure you guys do mentee and mentor groups. I think we're gonna have to lean on those really heavily this semester. And I'm gonna try to figure out all sorts of activities to kind of help new people feel like they're a part of something and they're connecting with the old students. I think, you know, I don't know about you guys, but we have a staff t-shirt. In the past, we've had those rubber bracelets for the Skyline View. I'm thinking about sending my students some physical piece of swag. just so that they can feel some sense of connection. And I was in a training online where somebody was talking about, maybe Cecilia, you were there too, I'm not sure. The person was talking about being in a graduate seminar and after, during this whole COVID thing, and people, their school, their university had sent them t-shirts. And they all sort of spontaneously wore them to their Zoom meetings, and it gave them some sense of, again, there being a there there. A lot of you have heard about these graduations where people are doing these drive-through graduations, or a lot of elementary school teachers have gone into their cars and driven by their students' families. I don't know how successful this will be because not all of our students have cars, but if our EIC and our editors have cars, I'm going to ask them to safely, if they're on board, drive by, some of the new students' houses, if the students are open to that. And again, in our regular classes, they may not be. In our newsrooms, they often get to know each other a lot better. So that's one of the things I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about secret staffers, a riff on Secret Santas. Without, our students don't have a lot of money, so not making it a big money thing, but can they send them upbeat messages? Can they, how might we work with that? And then I think, as always, we're going to really need to bring in our alum. And one of the things for me is that during the school year, my alum are constantly stopping by. So the newsroom, anyone who's in there, they have a real sense of being a part of something larger than that semester. And I'm going to ask alumni to come onto our Zoom calls and stuff like that. Okay, and because I love gamification, I can't help it. I'm going to use Kahoot to kind of try to build that community. I see how that works with them. And I'm not just going to use Kahoot for quizzing them. I have suddenly become the Zoom party person. It could be a second career for me. So I've been celebrating a lot of people's birthdays online. And because I'm a teacher, I've set up Kahoots with building in pictures that I've gotten from all of our friends, and then funny questions. And we did a Kahoot for the end of the year party on kind of staff trivia. So that's another way of kind of building some of this. And I usually do scavenger hunts, and I am going to do that on Zoom as well, because I like the idea, and I have done this already, of sending them somewhere in their physical space and having them grab something physical and share it and be back with the group. I'm also going to play around with breakout rooms. And I don't mean breakout rooms on Zoom, although that's what I'm going to use them for. I'm going to put them into breakout rooms, give them some sort of something that's probably related to content, but puzzle oriented. And then whoever breaks out of their breakout room, completes it first, will be the winner. And then I don't know if you guys know this, but there are digital versions of Jeopardy, bingo. There are bingo card makers. You can even play things like Cards Against Humanity online, which we are not going to do, by the way, but my students do in the newsroom. They always ask me to play with them, and I always promptly leave the space, and I never play that with them. But Marianne, if you could put into the chat room, there are links for bingo, Jeopardy, and other card games, and you can just stick them in there as a resource. And again, we're going to collect all these resources for you as well. Okay, let's talk about collaboration. Obviously, Google Docs is a way for your students to collaborate, right? And you can put in the chat if you want to, if your students already collaborate through Google Docs. And then, of course, they can collaborate when you're holding a Zoom meeting. They can collaborate through the chat. You can stick them into breakout rooms where they can collaborate and screen share and do all sorts of things like that. But I want to give you some other options just in case. And these are things that you can use with your newsroom. And a lot of these things will also work with your other classes should you want to. And they can work synchronously and also asynchronously. Let me just go into the chat for a second and just see. Okay, you've got those. Yeah. Okay, so one free, there's lots of tools that you can pay for this, but one free tool for collaboration is called MindMap. And I'm going to show you what this looks like. We're not going to try it out, but you can go there, you can click on just publish a free one. You don't have to sign up. You can have the students do something like, like brainstorm how they're going to cover fall sports. and people can come in, they can click on these little nodes, they can click here, click on this, and add their own little idea to this mind mapping, which many of you have probably done on paper or on your whiteboards, but you can do it online as well. And what's neat about this particular site, and if Marianne, if you could, I don't know if I put a link to this one, but it's just mindmap.com. What's also neat is even in the free version, you can go over to File and you can download it as a PDF or even as kind of in banner form. So there's lots of different ways you can utilize this later, and then you can post these if you want to up on your Canvas page for the students to be able to access them later. Another thing is called Slido. So Marianne, if you could put this link into the chat. And we're going to take a look at this. And we're not going to spend a ton of time on this. This is going to be something that I have already made live, and you guys can play around with it. I'll leave it open for the rest of the day. And let me just see. Anything I need to know about in the chat?
I don't believe so. I haven't seen it.
I know, I told you didn't need to monitor it.
Lots of people are good comments on other applications, like are agreeing with the things you're showing.
Okay, all right, great.
When you get done, there's Patrick had one of your links didn't work, but we'll go back to that. The
Ooh.
thing link didn't work. It went to your Padlet, your last Padlet link.
Oh, okay, all right. I'll be sure to correct that. Okay, this is what Slido looks like. This is where you guys join. So you can put in a separate tab, you know, www.slide.do. And then where it says joining as a participant, I actually, Marianne, if you could put into the chat room what the number is, event code.
Sorry, I'm copying.
That's okay.
There we go.
Okay.
41521.
Okay, 41521, great. There we go. And then what you're gonna see is, this is what if you're doing it on your phone, this is what it's gonna look like. And if you're doing it on your screen, this is what it's gonna look like. And what I like about Slido, and I'm not gonna navigate to the live site right now, you guys, but what I like about it is that the participants can post questions, which of course they can do in the chat too. But what I like about the posting questions in the Q&A on Slido is that they can be anonymous. So I've asked my students, I've shared my screen like this to Slido, and I said, just go ahead and plug in any questions you have. And I think that makes them feel a little bit less on the spot. But I also like that there's the polling option, and for collaborative purposes, the ideas option. So I put in there a specific topic. And if you guys want to play around with any of this, this is going to be live for at least the next several hours. Okay, right. So the next one that I'm really excited about is Jamboard. I have probably signed up for, I don't know, I've signed up for something called Mural. I was about to sign up for something called Miro. They sound almost the same. These are collaborative sites where you can work with digital sticky notes and do kind of design thinking. And then I discovered that Google has its own version of this. So I am going to stick with Jamboard because it's easy and we already use Google. So if you could put into the chat the link for the Jamboard, we're going to go ahead and look at that.
All right, hold on. I'm copying it, but I'm copying the wrong thing. Isn't that wonderful?
That's okay. That's okay.
All right.
I need to find the right spot too.
It's in there actually. If people scroll back a little bit, I put it in right above Cindy's comment.
Okay, great.
So if they scroll up, it's there.
Okay, so I can see that a bunch of you are starting to join, so that's great. So we're all in the same space and I've gotten us started. This has a drawing tool up here and it's not very good, but I put a line down the middle. And what you're going to do is go to the sticky note and you're going to go ahead and with yellow, Write any concerns you have about the upcoming semester for your students, for whatever it is. And then if you have any solutions, change it to green and go ahead and put something in there. Now, this is not going to be our end all be all collaboration, but I want you to see how this can work. And yes, you can draw on it too. Hold on, you guys. This is what your students are going to do. Go over to sticky note. Okay. But yes, it is another version of a whiteboard, and you can do that too. Can anyone, there we go. Let's see if one of you can add in a sticky note. There we go, motivating students. Does anybody have a sticky note on an idea for solutions? So we've got a lot of concerns here: building community, communicating, motivating, insurance. Okay, so I want you to imagine for a minute that you're doing one of these Jamboards with staff. And, you know, we did a lot of design thinking when we started, when we had, oh, I'm forgetting his name at the moment, but when we had a couple of JACC state conferences, conventions ago, we did design thinking about kind of dreaming about what things could look like if we had funding and things like that. So technology overload, I'm sorry, I'm probably adding to that. Okay, so we can stop here, but I just want you to think about this as a tool for design thinking with your students and letting them kind of map out certain things for their semester. Let me go back into presentation mode. All right, you see it again? And we've done that. And now we're gonna go back to Padlet. And what we're gonna do is when you, if you haven't used Padlet before, what you have to sign up for an account if you are creating the Padlets. So you can sign up for a free account, which will allow you to do a limited number of these. But when you go ahead and create your Padlet, you have a lot of options. And I put this on the screen because what we did with the tombstone was the wall, okay? And what we're gonna do in a moment is the shelf. But there's other options in here, like things with mapping or back channeling, like text kind of looking things, or even timelines. And I was thinking, you know, for our students, they could collaborate on certain timelines of how they, you know, certain processes they want to do for the semester. They can kind of do it in timeline order, or they can map out what a video might look like, almost like storyboarding it through the timeline feature. But I chose the shelf one for the next thing we're going to do. And this is our wrap up. We're going to, if you can drop into the chat, the
It's
next.
there. I just did it.
Great. And I have given 3 columns here. So don't click on add a column. What you're going to do in this case is any ideas of how you will apply anything that you've just learned about, or anything that I didn't mention that you are doing in terms of creating a sense of space, either synchronously through Zoom or asynchronously. Any ideas you have for bonding and community, and any ideas you have for collaboration. And I put here, if you can see, I've drawn arrows. This is what you want to click on. And again, you can go in and like anybody's ideas too. And we're going to make all of these things that we've done anything with, we'll make them available to you guys. But let's go ahead, and I've got, let's see, I am right out of time. So if you could go, no, I have 5 more minutes. So we're doing just fine. I was thinking my class time ends at 50 minutes after the hour. So I'm gonna go ahead and go to that Padlet and see how you guys are doing. Oh, great. Okay, use of games, Flipgrid videos, icebreakers and check-ins. Yeah, you know, I didn't mention icebreakers, but, and I think the reason I personally didn't mention icebreakers, I'm totally doing them, by the way, 100% going to do them. But one of my students wrote an opinion piece this semester, just you know, decrying the icebreaker. So I just couldn't put it into my PowerPoint today. Slack channels, Discord, yeah. So Patrick, was that you for Discord? the thing Nancy did of her disco self in the classroom. I know it had a disco ball too, but I put the Flipgrid QR code over it. Zoom for editorial meetings. Yeah. Zoom is production space. Yeah. We'll see how that goes. There was something else I was going to say. Oh, our school has just paid for something called Pronto, which is going to allow students to text each other and collaborate on group work through kind of a texting back channel, and without having to share their personal telephone numbers with each other. And I know there are free versions that like secondary schools and elementary schools use called like Remind. So some of those, you know, there's Slack channels, there's Remind, there's Pronto. And all right, keep the ideas coming. This is what I need to. How will you guys, in terms of a sense of, or like bonding and community, how do you think you're going to help the student who knows no one get to know other people in the room? I know there'll be icebreakers. Anybody using mentors? Okay. All right, you know what I think we'll do? I'm going to stop screen share. You guys can keep going with this. Padlet for storyboarding. Yeah, that sounds great. And we only have about 2 minutes, but if there's any remaining questions, or if there's something that I should respond to, let's have you.
There's a couple questions that
Yeah.
I grabbed. Are the posts in Jamboard anonymous?
I believe so, because you guys just went in and posted, right? So I think that there are not, okay, I'm not positive how if you wanted to change that to not being anonymous, I think you could, there's probably a technological way of doing that. Just like when you collaborate on Google Docs, you can go in and start, like the Google Doc that I shared with you guys, it'll be anonymous who's on there, but I know there's a way to collaborate through Google Docs where it's not anonymous. So does anybody have any really quickly? It says Nancy Kaplan Beagle has entered. Oh,
I just entered you again.
that's one of my students. That's one of the panelists. Let him in.
Oh, okay. I did.
Yeah.
I did.
Oh, great. Okay.
And then Rich asked, how many of these apps do you use in one class or course? And is there a problem with overloading on too many tools?
Yeah, so Rich, you missed my caveat at the beginning where I said there is a risk of technology overwhelm, both for you as the teacher, if you're somebody who's not tech savvy, and everyone's having technology overwhelm right now. I did say never ever attempt to do all of these things in a single, certainly not a single class session like we've just done, but I also would really read the room. You know, with my newspaper staff, they tend to be way more open to tech tools. And with an online, mostly asynchronous, but occasionally synchronous, say mass media and society class, I would probably find a couple to use that work well. And probably if you pinned me down, it would be Flipgrid for sure, especially in asynchronous environments. Kahoot, because they also have an asynchronous way of doing it, and I love it synchronously. And maybe Jamboard or Padlet. I'll limit myself to those for right now, but I'm sure I'd stick in another one or two. You're right, Jen, people don't have good internet, and that is going to be a problem, you know, and I think my school and most of us have been recommended to, whatever you're doing synchronously, record it. I think hangout spaces you don't need to do, but whatever you're doing synchronously, record it and make it available to students on Canvas asynchronously. Okay, we need to wrap up there and let people run to the restroom because we're going to start our next panel in just under 5 minutes, okay? So you guys, thank you so much for allowing me to do this. Thanks, Judy. And it was really great to see you guys, and you're gonna be stuck with me because I'm the moderator for the next panel.